Hey friend, Brendan here. I have the OPPO Find N5 and I'm here in beautiful Singapore, which you'll get a chance to see because I'm capturing a lot of it with the OPPO Find N5. Now, you might not be able to get your hands on this phone despite it being a global release, but that's not really the point. The point is that this is a massive step forward for foldables and a glimpse at what we might see in the future of tech. We'll definitely get a deep dive on the camera, but throughout this video, you'll see a bunch of different photos and videos of my trip here in Singapore. We're gonna explore what makes the Find N5 such a groundbreaking device, but also explore what's challenging about it and what the possibilities are for the future of foldables and tech. Let's find out because this is Tech Today in Singapore. The first thing that we have to talk about is how crazy thin this thing is. I mean, if you fold it up, it's no thicker than a normal slab style smartphone. We're talking 8.93 millimeters thin when folded, comparable to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. And even when it's unfolded, it's just 4.21 millimeters thick, which is barely thicker than the USB-C port. When you have a product that's this thin, there are often compromises, but the battery is not one of them. At the OPPO event, when they unveiled the device, they pulled the battery out of the credit card slot of a wallet. That's because it's 2.1 millimeters thick, which is really crazy. And it's the second generation silicon carbon battery by OPPO. Despite its thinness, it still has a 5,600 milliamp battery, so it'll get you through a whole lot of usage. And that's in comparison to the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 that has a 4,400 milliamp battery, despite it being even thicker. So the battery life on this on a single charge while using the camera intensively provides less than 4 hours of screen on time and nearly 9 hours of total battery life with 2% left at the time of the screen recording. Now this is not normal usage because the camera utilized 71% of the battery. And of course that drains it far more. So in practical use, this will easily last you into a second day, which is really cool to see. So one of the things that you have to do when you're in Singapore is you got to go to the Marina Bay Sands. There's a whole bunch of cool things that you can go here. There's a dome that you can go to, a bunch of botanical gardens, and so much more. So let's check it out. The OPPO Find N5 comes with this really slim case and it attaches to the back, which keeps things nice and thin. And it's got this faux leather texture that feels pretty good. There is a more premium case that you can purchase that supports Qi 2 or MagSafe and has a more premium feel and finish. One small thing though, when you unfold the phone, the flap that protects the hinge does cover a little bit of the outer screen. It's great for protection, but it can be a bit annoying when you're taking selfies with the main cameras because it throws off your composition. See how it cuts off parts of the image? Ideally, OPPO could add a software toggle to shift the viewfinder over a bit to compensate. It's a minor thing, but I think it would make a big difference. All right, we're now in the Flower Dome, and this place is crazy. It's beautiful. Whole bunch of different plants and flowers here in this amazing structure here that looks pretty dang good on camera, I'd have to say. Now, one thing I want to point out is the button placement. It's not my favorite. It's a little high up on the body here, so it's a little bit harder to unlock the phone with your fingerprint. So that's one thing that is a bit of a bummer. And I wish there's a little bit of a notch in the volume button so you can actually see the difference between it. If the power button was a little bit knurled like the switch over here, and you had that notch there and it was moved down, I think it would be a lot better. Now, to this day, people still have concerns about foldables and durability, and I get it. There's been a history of foldables breaking quite easily, especially compared to a traditional slab style phone. With the OPPO Find N5, there are some serious materials being used here. We're talking a custom 3D printed titanium hinge that's incredibly durable and a strong aluminum frame. So it is raining a little bit out here in Singapore, and one of the cool things about the OPPO Find N5 is that it does have an IPX8 and IPX9 rating. That's not a dust protection, so keep that in mind. But it can handle splashes and jets of water, including hot water, which is the IPX9 rating. So that's a nice thing to have. And for the external screen, it's got what's called nano crystal glass, providing even more resilience, and there's even a screen protector put on there. They've even got this dual shielded design for the inner screen to make it more resistant to impacts by 70%. Plus, it's been tested to withstand over 100,000 folds, so you don't have to baby this thing, to say the least. And if you want to, you can use the OPPO Pen on both screens.
screens. Beyond the durability of the display, we have to talk about how amazing it looks. I mean, this is why you get a foldable, right? For this huge immersive screen. This is an 8.2-inch display, the biggest in its class for a book-style foldable, and it's gorgeous. We're talking a super bright screen up to 1400 nits outdoors, which means you can actually see it clearly, even in direct sunlight, and the colors just pop. It's also incredibly sharp and smooth with an LTPO display that has a refresh rate that can dynamically move from 1 to 120 Hz, so everything looks smooth and snappy from scrolling through social media or playing a game while still being able to save a little battery. And the crease, if you really look for it, you can slightly see it, but in practical use, this is the most invisible crease I've seen on a foldable. OPPO's really nailed it here, and you can barely feel it when you're swiping across the screen. But it's not just about the big inner screen, the outer screen is fantastic too. It's a 6.62-inch display, and it feels just like using a regular phone. It's bright, it's sharp, and it has the same benefit of an LTPO display. You're not compromising anything when the phone is folded. With all the exploring around Singapore and using all the camera, I've shown off a lot of photos to my friends here at home, so it's been really awesome to be able to just open up the phone to get that bigger display so everyone can see. It's also great for watching YouTube videos, checking out Google Maps, and working on things, which brings us to one of my favorite things about this phone, the software. The best part of this inner display isn't just looking at photos and videos, it's how easy it is to get stuff done, and that's where OPPO software really shines. See these 3 dots? Just tap them and you can instantly split the screen to another app. This is called Boundless View, and it's all about intuitive multitasking. Let's say I'm trying to figure out a place to go to lunch. I can have Google Maps open on one side, and on the other side I can have reviews or the social media profiles open on the other side without needing to switch between apps. You can even open up multiple social media apps and work between them. Say I want to post something on my Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube accounts, which you should follow me at. I can drag and drop the caption into all 3 of them and post them all at the same time. It's truly kind of awesome. If you use 4 fingers and pinch, you can get an overview of all your apps, tap between them easily, expand them, and zoom back in. It's incredibly intuitive and easy to work with. And yeah, I've used Samsung's One UI and it's powerful for sure, but honestly, it can feel a bit cluttered, a bit overwhelming. This feels cleaner, more focused. It's just easier to get things done, and part of the magic is the gestures. And what's neat is if you're constantly swapping between apps, the N5 will start suggesting combinations. But here's where things get really interesting, especially if you're a Mac user. This is the O+ Connect app, and it basically bridges the gap between your phone and your Mac in a way that even AirDrop can't match, with more in-depth insight into the files on your phone and its data. I can browse all the files on my phone right here on my Mac and just drag and drop to transfer photos, videos, and documents, just anything. And it's fast, even with large files, assuming you have decent speed on your Wi-Fi network, because I should mention the devices need to be connected to the same network to do this. But here's my favorite feature. I can control my Mac from my phone, and I don't just mean basic control, I mean full remote access. When I have the Find N5 in the Flex 4 mode, the bottom half of the screen becomes a trackpad, and all the Mac gestures work. 2-finger scrolling, 3-finger swipes, permission control, it's all here. This is so cool, and as long as both your Mac and the Find N5 has a solid connection to the internet, you can do this regardless of what network you're on. OPPO also has Google's Gemini AI built in, so you can do all the AI things that everyone's been talking about. And I'd argue that OPPO AI is some of the best out there. Being able to edit photos and get these types of results so easily and consistently is pretty incredible. Plus the animation makes it really fun to use. And OPPO AI is expanding even more with monthly updates with new features. So if you're using a compatible OPPO phone, it's gonna get better and better over time. By the way, while looking through a bunch of the photos and videos I took on this trip, I thought a bunch of them would be great to use as a photo or video background on your phone. So I decided to make a few selects available to channel members. Joining gives you access to all previously posted wallpapers, future wallpapers, custom EQs for headphones and earbuds, and more. Most importantly, it helps support the channel so I can make content for you for free. Now let's talk about the cameras. And I'm gonna be honest here, with a phone this thin and with foldables in general, the camera is often the compromise. It's just hard to fit a truly top-tier camera system into such a slim device. The Find N5 has a triple camera system made in partnership with Hasselblad, a main camera, a telephoto, and an ultra-wide. And I have to say, I'm disappointed with the ultra-wide. It's only 8 megapixels, just like the internal and front-facing cameras, and honestly, it shows. When you switch to it from the main or telephoto cameras, you immediately notice the difference. The colors aren't as vibrant, the detail isn't as sharp, and it struggles in low light. Because of that, it isn't uncommon to capture blurry low-light photos because it has to work much harder and longer to capture enough light, which means that you have to stand still or images turn out blurry. And for vlogging, which is something that a lot of people use for foldables because you can use the main cameras and still see yourself using the outer display, well,
1x here, but you have the ultra wide here. You can see way more, but you know, it's only 8 megapixels, so that's, I don't know, does it still look pretty good? Does the color tone look a little bit different on the ultra wide compared to the 1x? Oh, see how it's a little bit more vibrant and then it becomes a little bit more dull? I don't know, are you seeing that?
It's softer, it's soft.
It's a little bit softer, interesting. Wow, you can really see how much sharper it gets once it goes to the main cameras, because it's like so soft on the 8 megapixel.
Oh yeah, of course.
the ultra-wide is usually the go-to lens because you don't need to be so specific about your framing and can see more of your surroundings. The lack of detail, low light performance, and the lack of that great depth of field from a larger sensor makes me not want to use it or enjoy it as much. I honestly just really dislike moving between lenses and seeing a massive drop-off in quality, and you definitely see that from the main lens to the ultra-wide. Macro shots also use the ultra-wide lens, and it's a bit rough. It's hard to get it to focus on the subject that you're trying to capture, and you're just not able to get all that close. The best way to get a macro shot is with a telephoto lens, and it's good. The 50 megapixel 3x telephoto camera allows you to get those close-up shots with that professional looking background blur. Of course, a telephoto is mostly used for taking shots from something far away, and it has the ability to digitally zoom all the way up to 120x. The quality at this range isn't that great, but I've enjoyed the results of about up to 12x. The main lens is consistent with the telephoto lens and offers a nice depth of field, natural looking colors and processing, solid performance at night, and a more tasteful HDR processing where there's still contrast and shadows in the image. Occasionally, I'd also encounter issues with focusing while using the telephoto lens. Despite tapping on the area I want to focus on, it still wouldn't focus after a few times trying and reframing. I'm not quite sure what caused this. Maybe the subject was confusing it, or maybe there was a lack of sensors to do this well. Portrait mode looks concerning when you initially take the photo, but once it processes, it definitely does a phenomenal job. There's also a burst mode if you want to spray and pray so you don't miss the perfect shot during an action-packed moment. This is a phone that does not suffer from shutter lag. Overall, the main and telephoto cameras are solid performers. You get nice looking photos and videos, good colors, and dynamic range, but maybe this is just me being spoiled by using so many flagship phones. They didn't wow me. This is not the same level as, say, the Oppo Find X8, the Vivo X200 Pro, or the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. Those cameras still set the benchmark. So while the cameras took a downgrade across the board on the Find N5, we have to be honest. It's hard to get around physics, and with their focus on having a thinner camera bump compared to other companies, that's one of the compromises that they had to make. They couldn't use the best sensors if they wanted to shrink down the camera bump. But I'm curious, would you rather have a bigger camera bump with even better sensors, or do you like the in-between that Oppo is trying to balance? Despite the camera being a bit underwhelming for me, there's no denying that the Oppo Find N5 is an example of a foldable that pushes the boundaries and gives us a glimpse of the future. We see advancements like a second-gen silicon carbon battery that can get you plenty of battery life for more than a day, an insanely thin device that feels like a regular sub-style phone when folded up, and a beautiful screen with hardly any crease, and software that feels powerful yet refined and light feeling rather than bloated, and is also platform agnostic. So what does that tell us about where foldables are going? Well, it tells us that the major hurdles are being overcome. We're moving beyond the bulky, fragile prototypes of the past. We're getting closer to that ideal of a phone that seamlessly transforms into a tablet without compromise. How other companies utilize this advancement will certainly vary. It seems like US-focused brands like Apple and Samsung are likely to release ultra-slim slab-style phones, which I would imagine will use silicon carbon batteries or something similar to achieve that form factor without having abysmal battery life, and if they don't, that's a problem. And there's also the rumor that Apple is finally going to release a foldable in the near future, likely because of the boundaries and limitations that are being pushed by phones like the Oppo Find N5. Even more interesting, what does silicon carbon tech look like for things like EVs? It could massively increase range, reduce weight, and alleviate many people's concerns about them. But there's still work to be done. The biggest challenge and my top wish remains the cameras. I want to see true flagship level cameras in these devices, even if it means a slightly thicker camera bump. I want that ultimate convergence, the best of both worlds. And in many ways, the OnePlus Open or OPPO Find N3 was kind of there. So it's a little bit of a bummer to take a step back. But what do you think about the OPPO Find N5? Do the cameras bother you? And if so, are they a deal breaker? If you've been hesitant to get a foldable, would this be enough to get you to try one? And if you've used a Samsung Galaxy Z Fold device, is this enough to make you switch over? Let me know in the comments, and I'm curious to hear about your perspective. Thanks to Oppo for flying me to Singapore for the first time and providing 3 nights at a hotel for the launch of the OPPO Find N5. I did cover my own meals while there. Thanks to Razer for sending my trip and providing hotel meals for that time. And none of these brands have paid me in any way for this review and have no editorial input or control over it. Thanks for watching This Is Tech Today. Until next time.